السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين، ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. أما بعد، فإن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة بالنار. أما بعد، جزاكم الله خير, my dear respected brothers and sisters. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering and make this gathering for His sake, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this session bidnillah ta'ala beneficial for all of you. So today bidnillah ta'ala, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the sixth hadith of Imam al-Nawawi. Okay. And as we said, this is a series that talks about the explanation of the famous book of Imam al-Nawawi, which is the 40 hadith. Okay, so I'm gonna read the hadith in Arabic, and then after that, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, I'm going to explain it. Okay, so taking it one by one. عن أبي عبد الله النعمان بن بشير رضي الله عنهما قال: سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس، فمن اتقى الشبهات فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه، ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يوشك أن يقع فيه. ألا وإن لكل ملك حمى، ألا وإن حمى الله محارمه، ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Okay, so inshallah, so this is the hadith in Arabic. I'm going to now translate it to you into English. Okay, so عن أبي عبد الله بن نعمان بن بشير رضي الله عنهما. So this is one of the Sahabi. He's narrating this hadith to us. What he said سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I have heard Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم says. What he says that الحلال إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين, that the halal is clear and the haram is clear. وبينهما أمور مشتبهات, and between the two there are things of a gray area, things that are mixed. Not everybody knows about it. وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. Not everybody knows about them. Not everybody knows about these doubtful, not so clear things. فمن اتقى الشبهات فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه, and whoever avoid these gray matters, he is indeed have protected his religion and his honor. ومن وقع في الشبهات, whoever fall into this gray area, وقع في الحرام, he eventually going to enter into the haram. ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى. And this is the example, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave an example of a shepherd that he have sheep, and he is close to a boundary, close to the boundary of his land. يوشك أن يقع فيه, and then when someone having sheep and he is close to his boundary, obviously some of these sheep is going to step out of the boundary of the land. ألا وإن لكل ملك حمى, and to each and every someone who owns the property, there is boundaries. ألا وإن حمى الله محارمه, and the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are what? The haram things. And then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam continue, وإن في الجسد مضغة, and indeed in the body there is a piece of flesh. إذا صلحت, if it was good, صلح الجسد كله, then the rest of the body is good. وإذا فسدت, and if this piece of flesh became bad, then the rest of the body is bad. ألا وهي القلب, and indeed it is the heart. So this is very, very important hadith, brothers and sisters, that requires for us to dig deep into it. The very first thing is that this hadith talks about that all the rulings in Islam, generally speaking, fall into three different types. Halal, that is very clear, number one. Haram, that is very clear. And between the two, there are mushtabihat, things that are of what gray area, a gray area. And the scholar said gray in the matter of what evidence, yeah, meaning meaning the evidence in itself is not so clear, or the evidence is clear, but we cannot apply it to the question. You know, the evidence is clear, but we cannot apply it to the matter, and that's when the gray issue would come. Like for instance, we know that this had, like for instance, what is the difference? Like we know that, for instance, there is an issue of evidence, meaning that maybe the hadith is not so clear, maybe the hadith is weak, maybe the ayah is not so clear, etc. And how we apply it to the matter, to the issue, that sometimes can be doubtful. Maybe it does not really apply to it 100%. Maybe apply to it partially. Maybe it apply to it with full investigation, and etc. Okay. So the issue that we have to understand is the following, brothers and sisters: that in Islam there are clear things that are clearly halal, and there are clear things that are clearly haram, and between them are doubtful matters not everybody knows about. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever, only the scholars or people who study the deen would know about these matters. And he gives us a hint, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ, whoever avoid this gray area, he have indeed protected his religion and protected his honor. What does it mean? Meaning that but if I'm avoiding this gray area, if I'm avoiding that boundary, obviously I'm not going to fall into it. Obviously I'm not going to be getting closer to the haram. Just like the example that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have given. If someone has shepherds, who's a shepherd, who have a lot of sheep, and the area where his sheep would eat from, let's say it has boundary. Okay, the closer that shepherd gets into the boundary, the more likely that some of his sheep that's going to step over the boundary. Why? Because, for instance, and this is normal. Like for instance, if I have my sheep eating from my own land, obviously, the closer I get to the other side, maybe I'm going to see a higher level of grass. Maybe I'm going to see a greener grass. Maybe possibly I'm going to see things that are, things that are, that seduces me to go to the other side. And that's what happened. Every time someone gets into the closer to the haram, it becomes more appealing to him. He become more urged to get close to overstep his boundary. And that's why, brothers and sisters, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have ordered Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wasalam not to eat from the tree, did he tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Adam, don't eat from the tree? Or he told him, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ الشَّجَرَةِ, then get closer to the tree, right? Meaning that if he got closer to the tree, eventually he will eat from the tree. And the same thing here. When someone gets closer to the boundaries of the other side, eventually he will step over his boundaries and go to the properties that he does not own. And he obviously is going to fall into the haram. And that's the problem that many people, unfortunately, fall into, in which that they get closer to the haram. They think that they're confident enough that they're not going to overstep their boundary, and eventually they will fall into it. And that's the issue. And when people would wonder how come we're falling into the haram, is because of that. It's because of these issues. So it's important, brothers and sisters, is that we think about this when we are dealing with our religion. That we are so protective of a lot of things in our life. We're protective of our children. We're protective of our money. We're protective of our cars, and we want nothing to harm us. Yet, when there is an accident, if there is a danger, we don't get closer to the danger. We don't get closer to the danger. How come the same thing applies to us when it comes to our deen? If I know this person is, for instance, is a bad friend, or something bad is going to come out of it, why do I get closer to him? Then I should be far away from that individual. If I know if I'm going to go into this house or this area, I'm going to be introduced to things that are not so halal, why do I go into this area? You see, and that's why whoever as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, ومن اتقى الشبهات, whoever avoid that gray area, فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه. He will have indeed protected his deen and protected his honor. ومن وقع في الشبهات, and whoever entered into the shubhat, was going to happen. Whoever going to enter into that gray area, obviously and eventually is going to enter into the haram. So the issue here, brothers and sisters, there is things that we have to take in perspective. The scholars, they said that, what does it mean that when someone enter into the shubhat, when he fall into the shubhat, is going to enter to the haram? It means that mumarasat shubuhati haram. That for someone who dwells into this gray area are haram, because you will eventually fall into the haram. Or is going to be a reason for you to enter into the haram. It's going to be a reason for you to enter the haram. So this is something that we need to think about, brothers and sisters. Are we so protective of our deen that we are cautious when we are dealing with certain things? When you ask a scholar, and there is evidence, let's say there is evidence for something and against something, isn't it better to leave it all together? And so you can be protective of yourself. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ala inna himallahi maharima." The boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the haram things. So avoid it. Why do we always get closer to the haram things, and we say, "Oops, I fall into the haram"? Of course, because you have made it an attempt to get closer to that other side. And once you overstep, obviously, it's going to be an oops, because you have made yourself. It was not something that somebody pushed you into it. No, you worked yourself closer into following into the haram. And that talks about the heart, brothers and sisters. The issue here, brothers and sisters, is what motivates an individual? What motivates an individual to get closer to the haram? What motivates an individual to be seduced to go into the other side? It's the heart. Because if the heart is good, then the rest of the body is the good. And if the heart is bad, then the rest of the body is bad. When someone, their issue is backbiting and talking about others and planning against others, and backbiting and dwelling into evil things and eating the haram, obviously they have sicknesses inside of their heart. And that's why it encourages them to be closer to the other side. But if someone's heart is pure, he stay in his own business, he mind his own business, when he sees the haram, he runs away from it. What is he protecting? He's protecting himself and protecting his honor and protecting his own reputation. Because they say this, mashallah, this guy, he tried to avoid the haram. He's so protective of his religion. So this is something that we need to think about, brothers and sisters. So what do we learn from this hadith? Number one, as I said, that the haram is clear, and the haram and the halal is clear. There's a lot of things in our deen, brothers and sisters. The halal is clear, and there's a lot of things in our religion where the haram is clear too. Unfortunately, we live in a time where there is people sometimes would try to make the halal haram and the haram halal, but things are clear. Things are clear. Like when someone argue over the issue of interest, or people argue over the issue of gender, or people argue over the issue of the role of man and women, or people argue over the issue of music, if people argue over the issue of a lot of things, these are clear issues. But yes, indeed, there are things that are in between or gray areas. And when these gray areas will become apparent, for several reasons, when these gray areas become more obvious, is because when people, number one, because they don't know, they don't learn their religion, or there is something with their understanding. They don't like they either don't have no knowledge, or their understanding is ill, or they have an ill intention. I want to make this halal, I want to make this haram, that sort of thing. So this is something that this could be the main causes of why would someone, you know, not understand this shubuhat. Okay, and Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's encouraging us. That's the second point here, is that he's encouraging us not to fall into these gray areas. Okay. Now the question here, what's the key here? How would I know what? For instance, how would I know not to avoid or not to avoid that gray area? Let me give you an example. One time, this example is very key, so for us to understand. One time, a group of people came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they told him, "Ya Rasulullah, inna qawman ya'tunana bil lahm, la nadri, adhkuru isma Allah alayhi am la?" They say, a group of people came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and told, "Oh, Prophet of Allah, people come to us with meat. They come to us with meat, and we don't know if they have, remember the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that meat or not." So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sammu antum wa kulu." Say Bismillah and eat. So the question here is that someone might argue, well, this is a shubha, then we should avoid it altogether, right? No. The issue here, brothers and sisters, is if there is an indicator for a shubha, then no need for me to investigate. Like, for instance, if there is something that would made me doubt this matter, then I should avoid it. Like, for instance, as we know, Muslims we're allowed to eat the food of Christians and Jews, right? But let's say, in a situation, a Christian man came to a Muslim with a meat. I know he's Christian. Then I said, I don't need to further investigate. So I don't need to open further doors for me to investigate. I know he's Christian. I'm allowed to eat the food of Christians and Jews. Then I said, it's done. Now, let's say, for instance, if someone comes from other religions, like a Buddhist or a Hindu, we're not allowed to eat, their food per our religion. No disrespect, but this is what we believe in. So at that point, yes, I could question and ask. You see, so that sort of thing. Like, for instance, if someone saw a spot in their clothes, oh, it must be najis. No, if there is a reason for me to think it's najis, then I investigate. But if I just saw a spot, no need for me to investigate. Another example: a man came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that if he have lost his wudu or not. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he should not. Prophet Muhammad told him, لا ينصرف حتى يسمع صوتا أو يجد ريحا. He should not doubt his wudu unless he smelled something or he heard something. But for me to just doubt out of no reason, then there is no need for me to open that door. So the point here is that فالقاعدة, as Imam, and this is something that Imam Ibn al-Uthaymeen have said. He said, فالقاعدة إذا وجد احتمال الاشتباه هنا إن قوي تركه وإن ضعيف ضعف تركه. Then if there is a doubt and this level of doubt became strong, then I would leave it. And if this doubt was weak, then it's okay for me to go along with it, and so forth, and so on and so forth. You see? So the issue here is that, yes, we should be protective when we see obvious signs of doubt. Then I would leave it. And one of the things here that we learn from this hadith is that we should be protective. Don't go into something that's going to lead into haram. Don't go into something that is going to lead into haram. And the last thing is to understand that the importance of the heart. That if the heart is good, then because the heart is the central thing in our body. Whatever in the heart, you will see it exemplified in the limbs. If the heart is pure, you see the person is not lying. You see this person protecting his tongue. You see this person protecting his appearance. You see this person protecting his morals. But if someone their heart is sick, you'll see them talking about others, lying, cheating, making trouble, being evil, being envious of others. planning against others, cheating and lying and eating the haram, and you would not see the signs of righteousness in the way they protect, in the way they dress, and the way they behave, and etc. ألا إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Yes, indeed, it is the heart. This is what I have for you for today. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.